In what areas does the right most misunderstand the left?
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty.
There's got to be a lot.
Yeah.
I mean, there's got to be a lot.
Honestly,
on both sides.
All of them. You know, it often feels like we're starting from a totally different baseline. You know, and so I think there's many issues where we're like hardly speaking the same language, or not even able to agree on basic facts. You know,
and why is that? Why is that? Because that seems like that might be a problem.
It's a huge problem.
Yeah, it's like if we can't agree on the basic facts, it's hard to see how we can find a better way forward. You know, like it's gotten to the point where the right has their set of facts and the left has theirs, and they're contradictory. They don't really work together, and it's like if that's how it's going to remain, that seems like a real issue.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as issues. I mean, the issue of the last couple of weeks has been the gas stoves. I don't know if you've followed this discourse at all.
What's up with gas stoves?
So there was some research that came out a few weeks ago that said that gas stoves are a significant cause of asthma and other issues for kids. And it was suggested that there might be limits on our ability to install gas stoves in our home in the future as a result. And this created a big firestorm. A lot of people on the right in particular were saying, you can't take away my gas stove, that sort of thing. Then people on the left start digging in and they're saying, oh, but the gas stoves are causing all these health problems. And it quickly bubbles up into, people weren't even talking about gas stoves a month ago.
Gotcha.
And now just weeks later, it's become this like very inflamed issue. And I think both sides are kind of talking past each other at this point on it. You know, it's like it's hard to have like a rational, sane conversation. So I think that that's one. It gets so heated and people get so angry and they're just yelling at each other and firing off 280 character tweets at each other where there's no nuance. And certainly there's a lot of people on the left that are guilty of this. Like we tend to just like judge too quickly and assume the worst in people too quickly. Like if I'm going to have a conversation with you and try and convince you of something, like I need to actually listen to what you're saying. I need to actually consider your point of view. And I need to take a moment to like think about what information do I need to like present you to kind of make the case for my position. But those are often not the political conversations we have. Like it's just yelling. It's just my way. It's my way or the highway. I'm right. You're wrong.
Yep.
I'm like hardly able even to listen or consider your point of view. And I think it too quickly devolves into that.
Totally. And a lot of people, and you want to get it, you don't want to like betray your tribe either.
Yeah.
You know, like I think sometimes people, they might have their opinion, but it's like first they need to see where their tribe's at on this. Then when they know that, then they're like, then they're willing to express their personal opinion. Maybe it's what they thought all along.
Yeah.
But now they're willing to express it because their tribe feels that same way. But until they know that, they don't really want to speak out too much because God forbid you say something.
Right.
And it's like,
and it goes against what other...
It goes against like your tribe or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's funny because in the first week of this gas stove thing, it was very much like that. There were people on the right and the left that were saying things that where you were like, oh, maybe they will agree. But then people start to harden into their positions. They figure out what's the like... what are the talking points? What's the red line I can't cross? Exactly. And then as the weeks pass, people start to filter into their camps. It's happened real time in front of us over the last month. And it's like, I don't know, it's a little bit disheartening to see.
Yeah. What would be some of your biggest disagreements with the right? Is there anything that comes to mind there? For you personally, when you think about, why you're a Democrat and not a Republican, what are some of those core things, would you say?
I mean, it comes down to my values as a person, I think, a little bit. I'm someone who doesn't believe in like racism, sexism, misogyny, xenophobia, et cetera. And so, and that's always where I'm going to start from. And so I'm going to look for the person or the party or the side or the candidate who starts from that place. And often I find, unfortunately, that at least from my perspective, people on the right do not start from that place. So that's usually where, like, personally, I struggle.
Yeah. Well, look, that's totally fair. I mean, my goodness, all of those things are terrible. Do you find that, is your perspective that the right are generally that, or they just don't care enough about it?
I think it's both. I think the right has made space in their party for some crazy people who believe some crazy things. And so I think that it has allowed a lot of these crazy views to kind of bubble up to the surface and go more mainstream. I think there's plenty of people in the Republican Party who don't believe in racism and, sexism, and they would sit here and say, "Oh no, I'm totally against all of those things." But at the same time, they've created this vacuum, this space for those views to thrive. And so I think that's a big problem.
That's a very interesting perspective. And I think I could see how you would get there based on some of Trump's behavior, or at least the way that the media portrayed him. And is there other? I assume there is. Like, I assume there's even a history on the right before Trump that would cause you to be like, yeah, these are my values here, and what I'm seeing over there on the right, they tend to not align with this. Like, even pre-Trump.
Yeah, a little bit, but it definitely got way more pronounced after 2016.
Okay, yeah.
I think those things were there, but they were much more under the surface.
Now, going back to that moment in your school where some of these kids had legitimate questions about whether they're going to be deported, was there policy that Trump was talking about that would indeed have caused them to be deported, or was there sort of a narrative that was being built up by the media and everything that they were buying into that was in no way going to happen, but it caused them to have fear?
It felt possible at the time.
Okay.
I'll tell you that much, so like it felt like it could happen. It didn't ultimately, but it felt possible. And the fact that those students were willing to be vulnerable and even talk about that in front of a room of their sort of peers, I think speaks to how possible that felt in that moment.
Yeah. Yep. So equality would be one core value that you would have as a person, and you feel like that aligns better with the left than the right.
Yes, I think so. At least in our current situation and in our current moment.
Yeah,
yes,
I mean, look, it's your perspective. I mean, I'm not going to argue with that whatsoever. I mean, that's your perception.